We back. Act 2, the podcast, episode 15, 1-5. 1-5, 16? No, it's
No.
episode 15.
I said 15 and then I said 1-5.
Well, you fucked me up with that.
Okay.
The weirdo shit. Next that. Come on now. Episode 15, 1-5. Okay, now I get it. Now I get it. But that was some weirdo stuff next to it. Episode 1-5, 15. We appreciate y'all. We back. Hey, what's up? It's your boy International Walk. Here with my co-host.
The co-hostess with the mostest. That's my introduction. You can be picking my boogies on camera.
Saying, straighten out.
We usually do a boogie check before we start.
She wasn't right, so I got to straighten her out.
Thank you.
Back, episode 15, we appreciate it. I want to say thank you for the previous 14 episodes. Y'all liking, commenting, sharing. Appreciate that a lot. It's fun to see. We truly got some bigger and better things in the mix coming. Yeah, I even got some stuff in the mix I ain't even told her about yet, but we got some big things coming for Act 2, the podcast. Yeah, we really want to do this, and we want a lot out of it, so we're going big, or we're going to be here, home.
I was going to say, you can't say go big or go home. We're home.
We're going to be big or we're going to be home.
But one thing I can say.
Which is cool, because home is cool, too.
But one thing I can say about you, you truly love doing this. Like, you enjoy it. You don't.
Open that window up.
It is.
It's a little warm.
It's open.
Okay.
You truly enjoy doing this. You don't care about. You care about the communicate. You care about the engagement, I should say. You want people to enjoy it. That's why you do it. But you really do it because you enjoy it. Like, you don't be like, we only got this amount of views, or we got to get this amount of views. And I love that, that you don't add that pressure to yourself. You just do it authentically. You just love doing it. So I like that is part of my enjoyment as well, because I see how much you love it.
Yeah, it's just it's cathartic for me, the shit we talk about. So yeah, that's fun. That wasn't the vision in the beginning, but it's fun. So yeah, I never wanted to put that. I'm not a social media guy by any means, but I do enjoy the engagement. What was up this week? What was low this week?
Do you want to start so I don't take your answer?
What was up?
So what was your wow this week? What wowed you this week?
You don't have to do that every time.
Wow.
Because
that's how I envision it. Like, what's wow?
Wouldn't be right without saying I was super surprised by the George Floyd verdict. So that was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was some shit that I ain't never seen before. And it made me bring me thoughts back to when I was a little kid and they showed Rodney King getting beat on the news like that. And I remember thinking, like, that was like the first video of somebody recording a person getting beat by the cops like that. And after a visual like that, and they still said that all 6 cops was acquitted, yeah, I never thought that anything like this would even be possible of happening. Because it's like, okay, you saw it then. What the fuck? Like, why?
What's different?
Yeah, like, what's different now? 6 cops whooping this guy's ass with nightsticks and acquitted.
Yeah.
So it just kind of like, I guess like that's America putting black folks in place right there. Like, boom, this is what it is.
Yeah.
So that was my wow of the week, is that situation turned out. Attached with that is, like, last night all day long I was having conversations at work about George Floyd and the verdict and how it was going to conclude, and it just felt good. And I didn't pay no attention to it the whole time the trial was on, but just hearing that the verdict came down not guilty was like,
you mean guilty?
Yeah, he was guilty. I'm sorry. That it was like, people ain't gonna fight tonight. People ain't gonna riot tonight. People ain't gonna, all them people that was sitting on the couch watching it, waiting to go out and riot, waiting to go out and loot, waiting to go out and express how damaging that is for them. They stayed in last night.
Yeah.
And that's cool to see that we didn't wake up this morning and the country be on fucking fire.
Yeah.
Or you know, turned over and people died, people locked up. It's some people got killed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just would be a war against civilians and cops.
Yeah.
And I think yesterday, if that would have came down not guilty, I don't think I'd have went to work today. Like, that's how bad I think it'll get if when at the peak of shit like that. I'm talking about a legit race war.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that. Like, especially with all the guns that white folks have, that black folks have, and the firepower that people have. Yeah, I don't think people understand like what that would look like in the streets. People getting pulled out their cars, black people doing stuff to white people just because, white people doing stuff to black people just because. And I don't think people understand what that actually looks like. Yeah. So that was my wow. My woe.
I'm supposed to ask you. And what was your woe for the week?
Bullshit. My woe of the week was waking up this morning and seeing Bryant being shot 4 times in the chest, 15 years old. Like that. Again, when I always say when these videos come out and these verdicts come down, there's always something the next day to kind of like take your mind off that. Or it's a video to show like that guy who killed the cop. Like, just to show you like, okay, this is what we have to deal with. And I swear, I got up this morning, was going to work, and somebody sent me that video, and it was like in a half day, like you don't even get a half day to celebrate or take some solace in, you know, the family got some closure, everybody's healing a little bit, there's no riots today, people aren't tearing this shit up, you know, upside down, and this girl gets into a fight, she's about to be jumped, she calls the cops, goes outside with a knife, she's fighting 4 girls, cop pulls up, and he's not out the car for 10 seconds. Not out the car 10 seconds. And he shoots this girl in the chest 4 times. And the narrative is, oh, she tried to stab me. And clearly I watched the video and she was at least 10 feet away from him, fighting another girl. And it's like when the fight opened up and her body was open in the midst of the fight, he shot her. And this is a 15-year-old girl we talking about here. Like a teenager, a kid. Like, what the fuck? So that kind of shit just makes me feel like, yeah, George Floyd was 2 steps forward, but then the next day you get a video that makes you feel like 1 step backwards or the status quo. And it's like, damn, like what the hell did you think she's doing the right thing? Okay, maybe she shouldn't have came outside with a knife, but there's 4 girls outside her house. She calls the cops for help, and the same people that supposed to come help her killed her within 10 seconds. That's just, I don't, that's just, it's heartbreaking for one, and it's just sad. It's just sad that we live in a society like that where not even a half day after something that we can use to heal the country or start to heal a little bit, you get something like that.
Well, I think it happened yesterday. Yeah, I think it happened the same day. I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yeah, that was my low. What was your high?
So I'll piggyback on what you said. Definitely the George Floyd verdict, and finding the murderer Derek Chauvin guilty. Was definitely
talk heavy, baby. Say his name.
Was definitely a wow moment. It's a small step, but it's a celebratory step, I think. You know, I've seen people, you know, social media is draining sometimes because you see people saying, oh, we shouldn't be celebrating. This is just, you know, one small thing. He hasn't been sentenced yet. I don't particularly agree. I agree it is a small step, but I do think it's worth celebrating because, like you mentioned, we watched a man be beaten viciously and the verdict was not guilty, and it made us think we obviously know they're guilty. We saw it, but you said not guilty, which just broke the trust that many people have in a judicial system.
Hold your thought for a second. There's something to say to that though, because in sentencing, is the fact that his sentence is happening 8 weeks from now is abnormal. That's not a normal thing, and you gotta watch stuff like this because it can be a conviction, but some shit can happen where he gets a 5 to 10 or 7 to 15 and out in 5. So you just gotta pay attention when people's like the sentencing part. That's the end of it. Whether he get 80 years or 40 years, either one, it's not sufficient for his life. But shit like this, yeah, it'll be like, here's a little something to calm y'all down this day. But on the tail end of this, he gets 7 to 15 and he's home in 5.
But I think, okay, let's fight each of these little battles as we come to them.
Right.
So he was found guilty. Now let's let's prepare for the sentencing part. Let's not ignore the celebratory factor in that he was found guilty and wait to see that. I think yes, we should have perspective and not just think that's the end all and be all, but we also live where your feet are. Like you said,
you do celebrate
in that moment. So I think that's a good thing. My woe is also piggybacking on what you said. And again, social media can be draining. I've seen a lot of, I didn't watch the video and I don't want to watch the video. You know, I've said this before. I've never seen anyone killed until social media. Philando Castile was the first person that I watched being murdered. I've seen George Floyd murder. I've seen other clips of videos like of that video we saw about like violence in Chicago and stuff like that. I'm sick of people seeing. I'm sick of seeing people get killed. We saw the cop get killed on the highway last week, and I cried. Like so I don't want to see a 15-year-old get killed. I didn't watch it. I won't watch it. But I've heard different interpretations of what happened. We know, like you mentioned, she was being jumped. Or some girls came to jump her. She called the cops. She went outside with a gun. The cops came. They shot her. Now I heard that the cops mentioned, they didn't know who was the aggressor in this situation. You're a police officer. You pull up, somebody has a knife going after people. You feel like you have to take action towards who you view as the aggressor. So, and I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not agreeing with any of this. I'm just saying some of the perspectives that I saw. Somebody else said, even though the cop shot her, the cop could have very well have saved the life of the girl that she was going to stab. I don't know how.
That's bullshit.
Listen to me.
I'm
not saying that
bullshit.
One life takes precedent over another. My perspective in it is two things. One, why didn't the cop pull out a taser? If you pulled up, you didn't know.
He's a murdering racist.
If you pulled up, you didn't know what was going on. You see somebody with a knife. You don't know which of these people out here called the police, but you see there's a person with a knife. They're a child. She visibly, she looked like a young girl.
Yeah, she was 15. She looked 15.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's a child. Why didn't you pull out your taser and tase? If in fact she had a weapon going after somebody, taser that'll knock her out to stop her from hurting somebody. But my biggest woe is this. So the mentality of people in society, and this is since time immemorial, this whole mentality of crowding around to watch a fight. But now it's gotten to the point where you had all these adults, people out recording, cell phones everywhere, and you got cell phones in one case that helped convict a murderer of a crime in the George Floyd case, and then you got cell phones in another case that somebody should have taken action. Break this up. Like, these are young girls out here fighting. These 4 girls trying to jump this girl. Again, I didn't see the murder, but I seen video. She was like a popular TikToker. Like, she did natural hair videos and stuff like that. She had people in her life that loved her. I saw like some So all these grown people, and not just grown people, teenagers with phones in their hands recording and wanting to go viral because they got this fight on video. And now you, instead of recording a fight, you recorded a murder. instead of taking the initiative to put the phone down and say, no, don't be out, like, don't jump her. Y'all got beef with her, give her a fair one. Fight her one-on-one. Sis, put the knife down. Don't be out here, because even if the cops didn't come, you stab one of them and kill them, and then you in jail because you killed them even though they was trying to jump you, or just you got an assault charge. Because, like, people need to grow up and implement some adult thought process in these interactions. Recording a bunch of young girls fighting, getting ready to jump a girl, recording a girl coming with a knife. Now you didn't just end up recording a fight to go viral and laugh and hee ha ha, she got beat up, or maybe she beat them up, or whatever they thought the end result was. You recorded a murder. Put the phones down in all these situations. And so we've seen some crazy situations, and we, like, not anything like that, of course, and we think to ourselves, like, damn, like, other people would have seen, and not to say we're better than anybody, but we didn't even think to pull our phones out, and after the fact, it's like, damn, nobody would even believe we saw that because we didn't record it.
But it's like, I hear what you're saying, and you're absolutely right, but you sound archaic. You sound like a dinosaur. Like, that's not what people do. When you say don't jump this girl, give her a fair one. Like, these kids ain't never heard of a fair one. Like, they don't know what that means.
But, I mean, it was grown-ups out there.
Yeah, but still, that's not the way of the world now. It's a different era, and that's what they do now. A fight happens, and people pick up phones. Cops pull over somebody, and people start to film stuff. I guess it's that sensation of wanting to go viral, but it also helps in certain situations because you wouldn't see this stuff. It wouldn't be on tape. And the people that do get in trouble wouldn't have gotten in trouble if there wasn't any tape. It would just be a cop's word against a person. If George Floyd's murder wasn't on tape, who knows how that would have went? That's all I'm saying. It just would have been, oh, we heard a cop kneel on somebody. It goes back to even like with domestic violence. When you hear about these domestic violence situations, it wasn't until you seen Ray Rice punch his fucking girlfriend in the elevator that everybody was like, holy shit. Like, the visual of stuff is different. Like, you can hear about something, and I agree with you, everybody shouldn't be pulling out phones and filming shit. You should engage, interact, try to stop shit. Like, and I'm not saying put your own life at danger, but it's young girls having a fight. Exactly. So it's not like it's a bunch of dudes out there
with
about
guns,
to shoot. Yeah.
Right.
So you got to engage in that and try and stop that. But
that's
for the way of the world now, that's the way these kids are. That's not our generation. Our generation, we didn't do stuff like that. We didn't have the technology, but we didn't do shit like that, and we didn't look to be on the internet.
The first one to post the fight.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like the grown-ups that was out there, y'all failed that young girl. That was in Ohio, so who knows? They may never see this, but I hope that as a society we can teach the next generation, like, it's okay not to record something.
Right.
If something is happening, it's okay not to have the footage because you're involved in helping. Like, it's okay to not pull your phone out, to be in the moment. I mean, and that can go into a lot of different directions. People on vacation with their phones out the whole damn time. People at a restaurant with their phones out the whole damn time because they want to capture everything. But in this situation, and I'm not saying that they were the cause.
Phones came out specifically for the fight.
Yeah, like, the cop shot her. The cop is the one that killed her. Whether or not it's going to be, how it's going to be determined, I don't. And this may be an unpopular opinion, I can't say this is comparable to a George Floyd situation.
I can. I'll disagree. I think that cop got out of his car, and within 10 seconds, he killed somebody. Killed a child, and he didn't attempt to engage in conversation. He didn't attempt to say anything except put your hands up and stop. And it's two people tussling around and fighting. And excuse me, to me, it looked like he waited for the opportunity to when the fight happened, and when they opened up, that's when he shot her. And she did have a knife in her hand, but he shot her 4 fucking times in the chest. And that's just a kid that fell down and died. And the video went on for 30 more seconds. And with a cop at her aid, watching her bleed out, and a cop standing above him watching the other cop watching her bleed out, he still held his gun in a shooting position for like 30 more seconds. Like, I just don't understand that type of mentality.
I'm not saying from what I hear that it doesn't sound like he was wrong and there's definitely other actions he could have taken. I'm just saying I don't, just from what I hear, because I'm not going to watch
it. You can't go on what you hear. You have to see
it. Well,
it.
I'm saying from the details that you're telling me about the situation.
But you have to see it for yourself to get your own perspective to make a statement like that, like who was right or wrong. Because I'm telling you, you have to see it.
I'm not saying that he wasn't wrong from what I hear.
Well,
that's
to
what I'm
decide
saying.
whether or not.
I think he should have taken, again, in that situation, why not pull out the taser? You know, stop her, because obviously she has a weapon. Regardless if she has a weapon to defend herself, she has a weapon, and you don't want anybody to be stabbed in this situation. Why not taser to stop her? You know, so I definitely, it sounds like there were other actions that he could have taken. So the cop was definitely at fault for killing her. I'm not saying that other people that were there, I'm not shifting the blame to anybody else, but I feel like this doesn't even have to be a story. This could have been a neighborhood fight that was broken up by people in the neighborhood had they put the damn phones down and stopped these young girls from engaging in this kind of conversation. When y'all heard the cops, when y'all heard the sirens, you know, come on, the cops coming, come on, y'all, stop, the cops coming, put the knife down, you know. So something could have been done other than recording her being murdered.
That too, but cops, I mean, you're a fucking cop. You can't show up and kill people. You can't do that. Like, you got protect and serve on the car. And I know cops' jobs is hard, and a lot of them are scared, and I understand that. I do understand. I just watched the cop get murdered on a highway, wherever that was, in New Mexico. Y'all, you go out there and look up the video. This guy blatantly murdered a goddamn cop. I would suggest you don't look up the video.
It's horrible.
Shot him like 12 times and then leaned over and shot him in the head with like an M16. So
yeah,
and the cop was super nice to this guy. Super nice.
No aggression
there's
at
no
all.
signs of aggression, no signs of anything. And this guy just got out the car and brutally murdered him. So I understand when videos come out like that, how cops be like, okay, shit, you never know who car you coming up on, or how nice you are, or what kind of day this guy had. I get it. But you can't take that job and just kill people. You can't do that. You can't walk up and have mistakes being made of you killed the guy because you leaned on him for 8 minutes and 29 seconds. You can't, yeah, I'm saying you can't say shit like that as a mistake. You can't shoot a 15-year-old girl. You're a grown person. You're a police officer. You're supposed to be able to handle that situation in a different manner other than pulling your gun out. I don't know. You get a gun, you get 8 weeks or 12 weeks of training, you get a gun and they tell you you can kill somebody if your life is threatened. And which is so subjective because, okay, I can just say my life is threatened and I can shoot somebody. But to watch this video, to watch this guy get out of a car and not even be standing up 10 seconds, not even standing up out of the car seat 10 seconds, and he killed a kid. Like, no, you can't do shit like that. You cannot do shit like that. There's no way he could say his life was in danger when she's tussling and fighting with 2 other people. And that's supposed to be the only time that you're supposed to have deadly force like that. So, no, that's fucking wrong. And I know you didn't see the video, don't want to watch it, but I did. And it just felt like, damn, like, he murdered a fucking kid. Like, how did you go home and sleep at night?
Yeah.
How did you go home in the midst of George Floyd's verdict coming down yesterday, and you killed a kid yesterday, and obviously you went home and sure you got some sleep, but how? You killed the kid. Like a 15-year-old girl at that. This isn't a male with a gun or even a female with a gun. Like, I don't know. That's just crazy. That's just crazy.
Well, prayers for the family of Miss Bryant. She was a beautiful girl. Again, I saw the hair videos. You know, just a little cute. She was a beautiful girl. She looked like she could have been my niece, anybody's little sister. You know, anybody. She was somebody's daughter. You know, so prayers to her family. A horrible, horrible situation. Horrible situation.
Yeah, it's just messed up. Ma'Khia Bryant. That's just fucked up. And whoever that cop name is who killed her, Shame on you, bro. Shame on you. It's too many of this shit happening, and then now you talking about, you killing people's daughters, people's nieces, little girls, over a fucking high school fight. Like it just, I don't know. And this kind of shit doesn't desensitize me. Not at all. Like
No.
growing up seeing murders and shit like that, and dead people and homicides and street shit, that's one thing. But and you get desensitized to that. Oh, this another person got smoked, another person got smoked. I don't get desensitized to this shit, like cops killing people. It I don't care how many you see, it doesn't desensitize me.
No,
it makes me feel the same way every time.
Yeah, that's why I
time.
can't keep watching it. It disrupts my insides. Like I can't keep watching it.
It's just a fucked up thing. But what did the verdict like actually mean to you?
One of the things that I and just like you,
moving forward.
Of course, we didn't. We were the same in a lot of ways. Didn't really give a lot of focus to the trial. I knew it was ongoing. Didn't know that it was that I don't want to sound like ignorant, but I didn't even know it had ended until it was like, okay, they're in deliberation.
And again, just want to say shout out to all the witnesses, that all them people that was out there with cameras, and the little girl and the people that was standing around. Y'all went to court and testified, and y'all didn't just stand around and disappear. And that shit mattered in this case. So shout out to y'all, because instead of standing around with phones and stuff and then just going away and not saying nothing, y'all actually answered y'all subpoenas, went to court, and did a good thing in this sense. And it was a positive outcome.
Yeah, and that's why it makes me conflicted, like I was saying about the phones, because but even then, at the beginning of the George Floyd murder, some people had commented and said, what if people had tried to stop them? Who knows? I mean, we can always talk about the woulda, coulda, shouldas. That whole butterfly effect. You change one thing, how would that impact the future? And who's to say they would have been able to, or if somebody else wouldn't have been killed other than George Floyd, maybe being shot because of them not videotaping but trying to stop the cop. So that's neither here nor there, because we can't change the past. So that's why it makes me feel so conflicted, because that situation and it being recorded, it left it being irrefutable evidence that he murdered George Floyd. In this case, I just wish that there was other actions taken instead of people just trying to record a fight like we see so often, that something else could have been done. But in terms of the verdict...
So you think the phone thing is circumstantial? I mean, are you saying that people shouldn't do that? Because obviously it helps nowadays to have shit on tape, because it's like we're at a point now where you can't win, or you don't stand a chance with your word against theirs, or hearsay, or circumstantial evidence. So there needs to be something concrete. And shit, video ain't goddamn concrete. We know that since Rodney King. But it's like all you can do.
I mean, it is. So my thing is this, with the phones and all of that, the officer had body cam video on. With the Ma'Khia Bryant murder. I'm talking about before the cops came, that situation should have been, calmed down. Diffused. It should have been de-escalated before it came. Now, if it's a situation where cops are involved, I understand people wanting to have, especially in this day and time, people wanting to have their cameras out. One, it kind of adds that extra layer of security. You would hope that a cop would, if they had in their mind, not that they showed up with the intent to do something bad, but if they are that type of person that would, hopefully that would potentially stop them, because they know they're being recorded. So I get that once it's a interaction with the cops. But in this situation, it should have been de-escalated before the cops came, so that hopefully the result could have been different. We've seen situations where, somebody's about to fight or it's something going down and the cops are coming and people like, come on, spread out, walk away, the cops coming. Just because, okay, the cops showing up on the scene, you don't want them to arrest anybody. When the cops leave, if y'all gonna come back together to fight, it is what it is.
That's the cloth we come from. We don't want no police interaction.
Exactly. So in this case, I just feel like again, it's still the butterfly effect, the woulda, coulda, shouldas. I wish somebody would have or could have thought differently to break up the fight, stop the situation from happening. And who knows, maybe it wasn't an option. Maybe everything happened. I can easily say this from where sitting in this seat and not being in Ohio when it happened. Maybe she ran out the house too fast for it to happen. I don't know. I just wish that people thought differently. And when it comes to situations like this, and it trickles down into a lot of things that happen in the city. We see the murder rate like escalating, going crazy. But you talking about young guys with guns, girls are being killed too. But in this case, this is a street fight. Young girls that we've grown up seeing that again since time immemorial. Young girls fighting, going to jump somebody. Either let her get jumped, break it up. Make them fight one-on-one. Hell, if you out there, help her fight. Let it be a free fall. At the end of the day, everybody goes home.
I hear what you're saying. I just disagree because, yeah, the parents and the adults, they should have stopped the shit and it shouldn't even have got that far. But it got that far. And now,
the cop was wrong.
Now the cop comes and you're supposed to help and break up the fight. You're not supposed to show up and kill people. You're not supposed to show up and kill a girl. So, yeah. And for the cameras, I think it's circumstantial. I mean, if you're a man and you're driving down the street and you see another man beating the shit out of a girl, you shouldn't pull your phone out and say, let me record this so he can get his time in court. No, you should fucking intervene. Like, you shouldn't be trying to record anything. But if there's some interaction where it's a cop pulled over and a black guy, it's dark, it looks sketchy, it probably is sketchy. And I wouldn't be upset with the person who stopped and recorded that.
Right. So yes, I agree. It is circumstantial. In this case, I think the circumstances could have been handled differently, where it could have been some mature adult interaction that hopefully could have saved that baby's life. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but to me, and I'm just pushing back, that sounds like white folks. And I know where your heart is, babe, but I'm just saying.
White folks in the sense of breaking up a fight?
No, in the sense of something should have happened before. Like, no, that's not the situation. Is the cop came and shot the girl. Like, it's like it sounds like to me like you're putting the onus on the adults out there. Nah. And I get what you're saying by why y'all letting kids fight, but they did. And it got to the point where where the girl herself called the cops. The girl who died called the cops and was like, I got girls outside trying to jump me. So the cop didn't say who called the cops, what's going on. It was just get out his car, shut the door, put the knife down, bow, 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 bow. I'm telling you, 10 seconds he wasn't standing up.
Clearly stating the cop was wrong based on the situation as you explained it. I'm talking about before the cops came on the scene. I'm not trying to deflect blame on anyone else other than the cop. I just wish that people would have thought differently so that maybe this is not even a news story. The fact that it is a news story is the cop's fault. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying, blame it on whomever else. I'm saying this could have just been a neighborhood fight that happened in Ohio that people in Philadelphia didn't even know about because it didn't escalate to this point because people thought to handle it differently instead of just recording it. That's all.
So what did the verdict mean? Do you think it changes anything? Do you think it excuse me, do you think it like some people would say it's a win, like it's a celebratory thing, but it's not like the end game. Like, what's next? Like, do you think this is some shockwave down to police officers to say, oh shit, like they just locked this dude up, let's straighten up? Or do you think we're still going to see, well, obviously we saw it yesterday because that's not an old video, but this shit going to keep happening? Do you think it'll slow down? You think it's going to keep happening at a higher rate because the summer's coming? Like, what do you think the verdict I guess that's a couple questions in one. But what do you think the verdict means going forward?
Unfortunately, I don't think that it really means anything in the sense of stopping what happened. I don't think it means anything in stopping police brutality.
You don't think it'll wake up cops at all?
Nope, because think about this happened a year ago, and how many how many people have been killed by the police since that time?
But up until that point, nobody had been getting caught or charged. A lot of people have been getting off. So to watch this play out over a year and be like, oh shit, they did like.
If you really wanted to change, or if it really was going to frighten you or to make you change your ways, I think just the fact, like, he was charged. He was going through trial, or at least preparing for trial up until this point. So they knew it was coming. No, they didn't know what the verdict was going to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like, up until that point of
I don't
George
think the
Floyd,
verdict,
they had been getting off. Whether they got locked up or not, Breonna Taylor, the people, like, they have been getting off up until that point.
I personally don't think that it will change the mindset of the police for those who already think that way. I think it's a systemic issue. What I do hope that it does, I hope that the sentencing. Why is that a difficult word?
Because you're trying to say it too slow and break it down.
I hope the sentencing really resonates, and I hope that part resonates with the police and let them know that, oh, we really will get in trouble. But even still, I think if that's innate in you to have that mentality to, show up on scenes and not care about life, I just think it's a deeper issue than that. And I don't think that this one conviction and hopefully this harsh sentencing will really change. I hope that what it does on the other end is to empower people to not continue to allow these things to happen without us standing up and showing up. This could have been a case. George Floyd was just one of, we know so many people that were killed. I think because of the way that it happened and us seeing it, it was like that straw that broke the camel's back.
I think it was 17 people in 36 months.
Yeah, I think it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Almost like it was a phase.
Yeah, but then Dante Wright, happened after that, just a little while ago. So it's not that that has stopped it from happening. But I do hope that it empowers those who fought and continue to fight. And I'm not talking about any specific groups, because I don't know enough about, the purpose of these groups other than fighting for, I don't want to say equal rights, but for equity, and making sure that there are some changes in the system that helps to bring forth equity. So that's what I hope it changes. I don't think it's going to change the police per se, but I hope that it changes policy.
Why do you think police officers kill people?
So I think policing should be community-based. You okay?
I'm halfway dying from joking, but I'm good.
Oh, happy belated 420.
But my question is, why do you think that police pull you over and eventually kill you? Why do you think that they are racist murderers, or do you think that that's in the bunch, or do you think that something happens, they get scared, and you die?
I think it's a combination of all of the above. I don't think every police officer that kills a person is a racist. I do think that they're scared and they're not prepared for the job that they have.
Training.
Yeah, but even like we kind of talked about the lady who murdered Dante Wright last week, when we talked about it on the last episode, she wasn't a rookie.
She was a 21-year vet.
Yeah, but it's still that fear there. And I think part of the problem is that policing, I think, should be community-based. You can't have, and I'm just going to use Philadelphia because that's what we're familiar with, but you can't have these police officers who grew up in King of Prussia, Gladwin, Radnor, and they decide they want to move to the city. Maybe they grew up there and then they went to, community college or temple when they were 18, 19. So now they got a little bit of city experience and they decide they want to be a cop. But now they're in this environment that they're not familiar with. Or even you have police officers that are from, the Northeast or South Philly, but now they're assigned to the 22nd district or the 39th district in a community that they're not familiar with. I think about the situation with Ma'Khia Bryant, and think about if you were a police officer. Just
no.
Well, okay. For shits and giggles, your brother.
Okay, you can be a cop. I ain't no cop.
Are you not a cop? Lord. Black man never want to be a cop.
Never wanted to be a cop.
I know, but just think about, a black man grew up in the hood, pull up on the scene, see a situation like young girls that look like his daughters, his nieces. He's from that community. He see what's going on. All these young girls trying to jump this girl. It's a different mentality that I think that police officers who police the communities that they're familiar with. Now, it doesn't have to be the community that you grew up in, but the community
that
you...
can't be, but
right,
that's
because
a conflict of interest.
Exactly, but the community that you're familiar with. It's a policing should be a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not to say you can never have a black man who grew up in the hood, who's familiar with the hood, being a police officer in Center City or in a more affluent area because he's not familiar with that, but it is a double standard. Unfortunately, it's a double standard. You can't have a police officer who isn't familiar with, for a lack of better words, the hood goings-ons, policing the hood goings-ons, because he's going to be afraid.
Right. I feel like it's the same thing as a person walking into prison. You're walking into jail. It's like you're going into an environment that is erratic and chaotic, and you're not from that, and you have to adjust and adapt to it. And because they have nowhere to pull from for adjustment or adaptation, they get scared.
It's the same with being a school teacher. Imagine a school teacher who comes from the suburbs. We grew up in North Philly, let's just say Fitzsimons. You were a teacher in the suburbs, wherever you weren't familiar with an urban environment, and they give you an assignment at Fitzsimons to be a 7th grade math teacher.
Those are the teachers that cry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they'll be in school. But when you have those teachers who have embedded themselves in the neighborhoods, in the culture, who take part in neighborhood programs, volunteer,
to learn kids' names.
Exactly, where
you
don't make kids feel isolated because their name is Malaysia, or their name is something that is not common in your culture or in the neighborhood that you grew up in, and you act I don't know how to pronounce anybody's names. Like Oprah's middle name is Lucretia. Get out of here with that. Like, people been having names that are different since time immemorial. But when you have those I keep saying time immemorial.
Because I put you on to that. That's some old head shit. I put you on to that. Time immemorial.
I think it's a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
So policing has to be about adding structure to communities and not just authority figures. I think that's part of the problem too. Is I remember this white man that I used to work with, and this was probably 15 years ago, and he said, and at that time he probably was 35, 40, but he said that until he started working at that company, which was probably in like 2000, he didn't like black people. And like, this was a guy who, everybody thought he was cool, but it was like, what? But what he said was his perception of black people was only what he saw on the news.
Which would be terrible. So
he thought that they were all drug dealers, robbers, murderers, until he started...
And drug addicts.
Until he started working at that company, he said that was his perception of black people. He never knew black people that went to work. He never knew black people that got dressed up, looked nice and professional and could hold their own next to him. And he was from New Jersey. Like it wasn't like he was from the sticks somewhere. He was from New Jersey, but he didn't know black people, and he admitted that he was prejudiced. And he even said his family was still prejudiced because even though he now had started to build working relationships with black people, they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is in 2000. No, I started working there in 2002, but he had started in like 2000. So this was the mentality that he had up until that time. So this is not like talking about the 60s. So you think about a 40-year-old white man in the year 2000 who said he never knew about black people not being robbers or murderers. Think about the police officers that now have to come into contact with these black people who have had similar upbringings, and this is the mindset that they have, and this is the image that they have of who they're going to be dealing with. You know, you pull a black man over, you're not thinking, oh, this is a man, he might be a little dirty, but he just worked his ass off, you know, at work all day. He got a family at home. He going home to a wife. You know, he take care of his family. So he ain't dirty because he just like broke in somebody's house, or he out there stealing and robbing. He's a working man. Or maybe he ain't dirty. Maybe he clean cut, got on a nice suit, got a fly car. He ain't no drug dealer. He a lawyer. He got a job.
To them, you ain't supposed to have that. And if you do have it, you have to justify to me why you have it.
So that's where the cultural division comes from, where we can identify being in the hood. We know we are multifaceted. You can't pigeonhole us into a block, into a particular block and think we're all the same. So when you bring these people in to police areas that they're not familiar with, they're afraid. I think I would be afraid too, to some extent, if I didn't have that familiarity with the hood. But that's not a job that I would want to take. I wouldn't want to be, because you scared and you got a gun.
But think about it though. If we being 100, if we being honest and living our truths, you're a cop in the hood, and you know the hood. Need I say more?
Yeah,
if you pull a car over on a little street and you know the hood and you know how people is in the hood, then you like, man. Like,
but guess what?
I read situations. I know how this shit about to go down.
But okay, if we keeping it real, if you a cop from the hood, you in the hood, you see this car, you probably ain't gonna pull them over. Let them keep going. I ain't about to pull this car over. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It ain't nobody out here. We on this little block. Whatever he did, I ain't see him killing nobody. I ain't see him raping nobody. Now I'm gonna let him keep going. If it's broad daylight, I might approach the situation different. Yeah, so you're right. That's where those cultural divisions come from. Or even if it's a situation where you have to pull this car over, your approach is going to be different. You're not walking up to the window, knocking on the window. I'm a kind of dent to the side. I'm gonna be looking to see. I know what to watch for because I'm familiar with this situation. Or I'm just gonna let him go. See you in the morning. Slow down. Thumbs up. Slow down. Don't drive too fast.
I don't know what the approach should be, but I know in Philly, like now, like, do you think this should be a separate unit that addresses fights and mental issues? Because like in Philly, right, and I don't know how long this was, but if you have a minor car accident, they don't come.
Yeah, the police doesn't come anymore.
The police don't come to a minor car accident. So there could be some shit between two people when your car get hit. Somebody could have a gun. Some shit could go down. But they think, okay, we're tired of coming to minor accidents. Get your license, get your registration, and exchange shit yourselves. We ain't coming to something small like that. But that's a situation where your car got hit. Somebody's blaming each other. Somebody might have a gun. Somebody might be having a bad day, in a rush to get somewhere and be highly volatile. Some shit could go down there. And they still think, oh, it's not as dangerous as you might think it is because we say, handle it yourselves. So, like, what approach should, if they're saying we're not going to come to a small car accident where there still could be danger, like, why are they coming to a teenage fight? Why are they coming to a mental case?
Well, because it's a weapon involved. You know, I mean, and you got to...
But I'm just saying, you don't know. Okay, let's say you call the cops and say, somebody just hit my car. I'm on Roosevelt Boulevard in Grant, and this guy just hit me from the back. And they say, sorry, we don't come to accidents anymore. Handle that. And 2 minutes later, you get a call that somebody was shot Roosevelt and Grant in a car accident, and that person is dead. Like, what the fuck does that? Because shit can happen when you have an accident, is what I'm saying. Like, let's not act like that can't happen. So all I'm saying is if they think to themselves or look at numbers or analytics and say, okay, in these situations, murders aren't happening, so we can back off of it, then I'm asking what should be the approach to a regular school fight or a mental situation? Should there be a group that intervenes before police?
So I think it's a couple different things you mentioned. In an accident, I agree in most cases that probably utilizes so many resources to show up at every fender bender. So I agree with cops not coming there. Now, if you do feel like it's a volatile situation, somebody has a weapon, you need to report that because that changes the dynamics.
But what if you don't? What if you call the cops when you just get hit? Somebody hit my car. I'm Granton Boulevard. Can you come? And you get out the car. The situation escalates, and you get fucking shot.
Well, the cops probably wouldn't have been there that fast anyway. Is what I'm
Wow.
saying. I mean, in 2 minutes, if you got
Wow.
shot, even if they were on their way, you would have been shot in that 2 minutes. Like they wouldn't have been there that
Maybe
fast.
you would have stayed in your car if they were on their way, because you would have said, "Okay, the cops are on their way." Maybe you would have told the person you were in an accident with, "The police are on their way. We'll handle it when they get here." You wouldn't have got fucking shot because they know the cops are coming.
I hear what you're saying.
I can't believe you just said
I'm
that
just
like
saying,
that.
You said
Like you would have got shot anyway. What the fuck?
I mean, in 2 minutes, they wouldn't have been there.
All right, 5 minutes, whatever.
All I'm saying is, I think I do agree. It utilizes a lot of resources. Yes, you never know when somebody's going to pull out a gun or when a situation is going to turn volatile.
So my question is, do they?
So I agree. Not every car accident can a cop pull up to. As a person, if you feel like
they have for years though, so I don't know why they can't now. They have for years
because it probably utilized too many resources, or they're on the scene and they got to leave because now something else is happening.
Then leave, but at least you were there to stop some shit that could have went down here.
Okay, so in that case, I understand the decision in pulling back resources. Maybe they just need more police officers. Maybe that's the solution to that. In terms of the fight happening and them calling the cops, I understand. Like, no, I don't think there should be like a different level. Like that's a situation where, you know, if the police come, fine, the police come because it's violence. You know, it can be a stupid little simple street fight, or it could be something that really is escalated where let's take out the weapons and stuff. Somebody could really be hurt, you know, and require an ambulance or something. So it really escalates. So, but when you talk about mental health emergencies, I do feel that, I don't want to say in lieu of the cops, but in addition to the cops, there does need to be another level of service that is provided.
The kid Walter, mental health person with knife. Okay. There's a weapon involved, mental health.
So that's why.
So that's both your arguments. Like, who's supposed to show up there?
That's why I said not in lieu of, but in addition to the cops.
Okay.
They should have had a mental health professional show up on the scene to de-escalate, because the cops aren't trained. But again,
you're giving the cops the authority to be subjective and to say when they think the situation is escalated. The counselor or the person on scene could say, no, I got this, I'm talking, we're having a conversation. The cop could feel like, no, this is going too far, get your hands down, get down, and all that shit, and break up whatever the interaction that the counselor or the person that we're talking about has with the mental health person. And the situation is different now because the cop's still there and he has the authority to say enough of this shit.
Well, I mean, the logistics.
So who has the authority?
The logistics of who the authority is can be figured out, but I think both are required, because you can have it could be a mental health emergency where that person is not responsive to the mental health professional, or maybe they try to endanger them. So I think having the cops on the scene is required. Or maybe you need multi-level of services, a mental health professional, maybe an EMT and the police, so that you have different levels of care that can be administered.
Right.
I think cops as an authority figure, because what if that person is not responsive and they need somebody, to what's the word?
What?
Apprehend, not to shoot them, not anything, but maybe this person needs to be restrained. That's the word I was trying to think
I
of.
think that it should be not cops who show up. The people should have tasers, and cops shouldn't be on the scene at all, not unless there's violence or a person's life threatened. But mental health problem with a male and he has a knife, no, the cop shouldn't be there, because it's subjective to the officer to say when enough. Your talking isn't working, and I know that I have the authority to put him down, put him in handcuffs, you know what I mean? Like I have the authority to end the situation. So you're right. The logistics would have to be like who's in charge here,
Right.
but
And maybe
I
it's
think
one
the
of those.
cops shouldn't even be there. The people who show up should show up as a mental health expert with an ambulance. That's how it should come as a package. Mental health person with an ambulance, and they have tasers. So if somebody needs to be subdued, detained, apprehended, they can do so.
That's fair enough. I don't disagree with that. Or if it's a situation where the police are on the scene, the mental health professional has the authority, like where the police don't act until that person gives the green light, and there's a level of there's some discussion that's already had, or that's known, that you don't do this until I say this, or you don't, I don't need you to interact until this happens. So, but your idea is also, that could also be something that's what would be a good plan to implement
I just
to
don't
help
think the police
de-escalate
should be
those
there on the
situations.
scene in those crises, in those situations. Like that kid Walter would still be alive if a cop wouldn't have showed up. If a mental health expert or not his personal doctor, but I don't know, a person that
Somebody that was trained to assist, because police don't have that kind of, they're not trained and given those type of skills to de-escalate. You may have some that have some social work background, because I think there is some post-education requirements for police officers. So you may have some that have some degree of some training in psychology, but they aren't mental health professionals.
I'm about to say I don't know about that, but okay.
Yeah, I think you have to go to a little bit of college.
To be a cop?
Yeah, I
don't think so.
You got to have some credits.
I don't know.
Okay.
So I don't know for sure. But it shouldn't be, and it goes along with the cameras and the mental health people, like the video of the woman sitting on the ground and the lady walking up and sitting with her, because you never know how shit can go with police officers. Police officers can be short-tempered, short-fused, and I just want you to get the fuck up off the ground so I can go to fucking get back in my car. Where a mental health person might sit there for a fucking hour because that's what's needed to get this person up. And that's what saved that person's life. But if a cop shows up, it's like, all right, 5 minutes of my training, this shit ain't working. Now it's forced because you're not complying.
Now you slamming her on the ground or something, and
you know what I'm saying? Or stomping her head or something, where it's like that shit's totally unnecessary because you felt like now you're not listening to me, you're not complying, now it's force. So all right, that was good. Good conversation. Good talk about George Floyd. Rest in peace, George Floyd. I hope his family.
Bryant.
Yeah, McKay Bryant. I hope his family and everybody get. I hate to say like closure, because I know you'll hurt forever, but I just hope they have some peace and serenity in what happened.
And not to mention the other officers, their trials are still pending as well.
They're going to take a plea. That's what I mean. Like they're going to see that they're going to hang Derek Chauvin, whatever his name is, and they're going to take a plea. They're not going to have trials and go to court. They're going to say, okay, whatever they're offering, I plead guilty, but I'm not going to trial, especially depending on his sentence in 8 weeks. Because their trial's supposed to start in August combined, like not individual. They're going to try them as 3.
So when you say waiting 8 weeks for sentencing is not the norm, is that a longer time than normal or a shorter time than normal?
It's kind of long, but it's kind of long. It kind of
gives me the impression that it's just waiting for the hype to die down.
Yeah, I think you have a week to appeal. Your defense attorney has a week to appeal. Then probably the process to say yay or nay takes another week, and then I think a lot is going to be taken into the sentencing as far as the complaints he had against him, his record and all that kind of shit. So there's a lot to go into it. It's just like, damn, an 8-week process. Yeah, okay. And I think they do that too because of the publicity of the trial.
Okay, I was just asking. I just wasn't familiar.
So, moving away from that, what's more difficult for you to say? I apologize, I need help, or I love you?
I need help.
That black woman shit, black power shit again.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess just admitting that you need help, or admitting that you can't do it, and being able to surrender, surrender and allowing someone else to do something.
Holy shit. Fucking up over here. Drop my ashtray.
Surrendering and allowing someone else to do something for you. So I think I need help is the hardest for me.
Why?
I just said it. You were.
So why?
I think it's just the surrendering of admitting that you can't do it. It's almost like admitting you. I think it's the feeling.
When you ask for help, do you feel like you're incompetent? In a way, is there some shame in well, I know you don't feel like that sitting here today, like there's shame in needing help, but are we conditioned to think that we feel a little bit shameful or incompetent or stupid or whatever word you want to insert there because you need help?
I think it's a little bit of feeling a little bit of weakness.
Like, why isn't help just labeled as help? Like, this person needs financial help. This person need help with the groceries. This person need help, because this bag is heavy. Like, help is help. So why is it all the same?
In some ways, you feel like you should be able to do it yourself, and I think it trickles down to pride. But part of self-care that we talked about is also recognizing when you need help and just asking for it, because you do yourself more harm in not asking for help than asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of it, is that pride where you want to be able to do it, or you feel like you should be able to do it. But asking for help, I think you should always try first, and then, love yourself enough to know when you need help. Mm. What's hardest for you?
I don't think what's hardest for me, I don't think any of them are a problem for me. What I'm weakest at is probably asking for help. Okay. Yeah.
Why?
I don't think male ego.
Pride.
Yeah, pride. I think it's just male ego. And I don't like that. Like, I've learned recently, or, the past 5 years or so, to express that I need help with something. But, yeah, it's just male pride. I think there is a sense of, I feel a little bit incompetent if I ask for help. Like, I can't figure this thing out, or it's too much for me to the point where I need a partner or a team. But not till you get older, you think, you realize that's bullshit and you need help. You better ask for it. If you want to accomplish something or succeed at something or feel good about something or passionate about something, you might need help with it. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And definitely don't be afraid to tell somebody that you love them.
Oh, yeah. Saying I love you is not difficult for me at all. And it's one of those things that,
And if you do somebody wrong, don't be afraid to look in the mirror and say, I'm sorry. I apologize. I hurt you this way. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of backhanded apologies.
Yeah, saying I love you, I don't have any issues with. And apologizing, and like you said, backhanded apologies is one thing, but apologizing with sincerity, it is what's important. Yeah.
That you would say that would be your issue?
No.
You apologize correctly with sincerity and all that?
Yes.
All the time?
If I mean it, yes.
Okay.
Or at least I try to.
What?
Mm-hmm.
We coming to the end of the show, but I had another question we had last week in the box that didn't get to, so we're gonna get to this week. And what's the this question wasn't asked with any particular topic or subject. I guess it's kind of broad, but what's the best advice you've ever been given?
So that I've ever been given.
See, it's not like I'm saying what's the best advice you've been given in life or about womanhood or about this. It's just what's the best advice you've ever been given.
But you know what it made me think? So, you read things and it's like, that's good advice and that's a good tip, or you hear stuff and that's good. But to say...
I have an answer. I just would have a better answer if it was
Well, I think for me,
particular.
It's what's the best advice you've been given, meaning that someone specifically said to you. So what I would say...
would that count if it's something you read?
No, because you weren't given that advice. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. For me, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay,
like,
we can interpret it that way. That makes it.
yeah,
That tightens it up a little bit.
yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. If I think about advice that I'm given, not read or heard, but I remember one time, and this literally probably almost 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2003, and we were going through something. We were having a difficult time, and something that my mom actually said to me. And my mom is not, we don't. She hasn't given me much advice, like not in a bad way, but one of the things she said was, if you feel like this is something that you can forgive him for, and it wasn't nothing like, we ain't no cheating or hitting or nothing, but it was just, if you feel like this is something you can forgive him for, then start the process of forgiving him. If you feel like it's not, then start the process of leaving, but don't linger. Like, make up your mind what you're going to do. And that, to me, when we've dealt with things, we have been different in dealing with things where, I don't hold on to stuff. It's like, okay, if something happens, we go through things, and it's like, all right, let's talk about it. Let's get past it. Let's get through it, because I don't want to stay in that place and linger. And I mean, obviously we're here, so we never made the decision to go the other way. But that was something that always stuck with me. It's like, if something happens, I'm going to tell you how I feel. We talk it out, and let's get past it. Like, let's not stay in this place, because that doesn't feel good. And I think I kind of use that, in other relationships too. You know how I am. If I feel like somebody wrongs me or hurts me or something, it may take a minute for me to get my words together, but I have to tell them how I feel, because I can't hold it in. So that, I would say, we asked the advice that was specifically given, that would be mine. What about you?
Mine would be, I can't really remember, because I haven't had a lot of people in my life to like give me advice. So I can't remember a person that I've gotten like real serious advice from. So I can just say that the best advice I've learned in life is just be accountable, stand up for what you want and believe in, and be a man, whatever that means. And for me, it meant putting out positive energy, loving your wife, and just jumping in feet first. Being a whole man. That's kind of how I took a lot of pieces of stuff from different people, and that's the best advice that I kind of live by and think about is, am I being a whole man? Am I being accountable? Am I loving my wife? Am I in feet first, both feet, not a toe, not 4 toes, but am I in feet first? And I just think if you do that, positive shit will happen.
10 toes down.
Yep.
That was a good one.
Yep, it was. Act 2 podcast.
We had one other question.
What was it?
It was about talking about toxic work environments.
Oh,
yeah. That might be a whole episode, though.
No, what was the question though?
Just, it was hot. It was someone who had expressed a situation of them being in a toxic work environment, and they asked us to kind of talk about when you have a family and you have responsibilities, and you can't just be like, F this job, I'm leaving. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you handle being in a toxic work environment? And this was one that came last week, but we seen it late. And I thought about this, and usually I don't know the questions until he tells me on the show, but this one, because it was last week and we had missed it, I had a chance to kind of think about it. And one of the things that I thought about.
What date does that say?
Friday. Yeah, you wrote it, but you forgot. Yeah. One of the things that I thought about that is extremely important to me, and as I get older, the realization of it becomes more and more important, is protecting your peace at all costs. And I know, like it was mentioned, you have a family, you have responsibilities. You may not just have the option to up and leave a job that you have.
You know more about this person than I do.
Yes and no. I don't really. I mean, I know her, but I don't really know what she's talking about.
Okay.
I mean, I know
Okay.
she has a family.
Okay.
That's all I know.
All right.
But one of the things that I thought about, I was in a situation, and it's just funny how things can align. No, I'm not talking about that situation. I was in a situation where I had a manager who was. I've never experienced.
Oh yeah,
this.
that's a different situation. I thought she meant when she was being a bully. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, because you think it's funny, and I don't like that.
Go ahead, babe. The people know you, babe. The people know you. Go ahead.
I don't like that.
Go ahead,
Don't
Mom.
put that energy out there.
Go ahead.
So I had a manager, and she completely toxic. Like, I've never been in this kind of environment before where I just hated going to work because of this woman, because of this person. Like, I've never experienced anything like that. And it got to the point for me where a couple things happened. One, I was about to go out on a mental health leave, not because I just felt so stressed where I did not want to go to work, but in my mind, I was going to use that time to find another job. So I say that to say, corporate America, we have these benefits. You take a leave of absence. No, you don't get all your pay, but I think it's like 65% depending on where you work. And sometimes you may have to exercise that option because you'll still be getting money. And I know everybody can't just say, oh, I'm just not going to work until I find another job. So that's one option, but that's seriously what I was about to do. And doors opened up for me. Like, it was so crazy. I had applied for a job. I didn't get it. This situation happened and I was about to go on leave. And then my current position that I have opened up, which was almost exactly like the job that I had applied for before and didn't get. To me, I felt like this was a lesson from God. I didn't get the job the first time because it was something he needed me to learn through that process and dealing with that person. And then on the other side, I ended up getting the job that was at a higher level, but almost the same position. And last thing I'm going to say, this might sound crazy, but I started praying for that lady, like, every day, because it got to the point where it was like, God, I'm praying for me to be able to get through these days and dealing with her, but I need to pray for her because I don't know what kind of demon she's dealing with. I don't know why she is the way that she is, but I'm going to pray for her too, because maybe she ain't praying for herself. So I need you to help me, but I need you to help her and keep her away from me. Long story short, the issue resolved itself. I transitioned into a new role. I didn't have to deal with it any longer. But in all of that, I'll say, protect your peace. You have to do what's best for you. And sometimes you might have to take a couple steps back in order to protect your peace. And you might have to evaluate your life. Can I not go to Starbucks every day because maybe my money might change because I have to get out of this situation? Or maybe we can't eat out 5 times a month. Maybe we got to scale it back a little bit. But in the end, mentally, you're saving yourself by saving money because you might have to, your money situation may change because maybe you got to exit out of that situation. Just protecting your peace is so important. Bills will always be there. You'll have to, finances will change, and sometimes you have to deal with those changes and make adjustments to make sure that your mental space is intact. Your peace is personal. Take it personal. Just like you take your family personal, your peace is personal.
I agree. Your peace should be number one. You're talking about a job, a place you got to go to and work. So
that you spend most of your time there.
To piggyback on what she said, I kind of agree with what she said, and I'm more of a tough love, like a simplistic kind of guy. So for me, it's like if you're in a toxic work environment, if it's not tangible, which means like if you can't put your hands on it and physically change the situation to make it better, then get the fuck out, because you got to be there more time than you got to be home sometimes. So if you got to come to this place and spend most of your time place and most of your bandwidth is in this place, or whatever bandwidth you set aside is for work and it's getting more of it, then if you can't physically touch it and change it, change your position, change the people you're working around, if you don't have the option of doing that, then it might be a situation where you need to change the work environment yourself. And that's just find another job, which she was saying. But you can't be in a toxic work environment to the point where you on the edge of the bed hating to go to work, driving to work, and you driving slow as hell because you just can't wait, because one day you're gonna wake up with, I wish a motherfucker would today. And you're gonna be driving to work, and your fuse gonna be so short, and you're gonna be at every light, you're gonna be saying, I wish a motherfucker would today. I'm gonna choke somebody. And you can't let it get to that point. Toxic work environment's no good. If it ain't tangible, if you can't put your hands on it, make a phone call, ask somebody, use a network of a friend or something to change the situation, then you got to get out of the situation.
I agree.
So that's how we feel. Act 2, the podcast, episode 15. Bam. How we do that?
1-5.
1-5.
1-5.
1-5. Thanks. Appreciate. Drop more questions in the comment box. Appreciate all the likes, all the shares, all the love. Again, we keep saying it. We got production. We got big stuff coming. We're going to make it happen. We're at episode 15. We're going to have hundreds of these things. So, and by the time we get to, the higher numbers, we're going to be sharp as attack. Sharp as attack. So,
So isn't brushing your shoulder off?
Keep watching, keep
you were supposed
liking.
to brush my shoulder off.
Keep liking, keep sharing. More questions to Maria. Appreciate all love. Act 2 podcast, episode 15. If you fuck with us, you fuck with us. If you don't, you should.